Well, we're back again today with Cindy Gatton, who is a patient advocate. And I love this segment because this is what Doc Talk is all about. It's about healthcare consumerism. Remember, it's your health, your money, and your choice. And we want to tell you what's going on out there as you're being held more responsible for your medical care decisions and costs. A topic that I've wanted to get to recently has been some medical tourism. And Cindy joins me today, and we're going to talk about a patient and medical tourism. Welcome to the show again.
Good morning. Great to be here.
Glad to have you on this segment. I've always wanted to have this regular segment. And so as a patient advocate, you're out there helping our listeners deal with their medical bills. And much more than that, you're being proactive now, helping people understand a language that we have in medicine, as you referred to in a previous segment. How do we understand and communicate with our physician to make it most efficient for us to get excellent quality health care and be cognizant, to know what the cost is. So medical tourism is one way that we can address cost. Tell us one of your stories, Cindy.
Absolutely. I'm working with a patient, Mac, who has type 2 diabetes that is related to his weight. He tried for many years to lose weight. He has been to dietitians. He's worked on all of this, but he has not had success losing weight. And recently, his endocrinologist had recommended that he have bariatric surgery. There's a lot of really interesting literature right now that for some patients, not everyone, bariatric surgery actually can be a treatment for type 2 diabetes.
And the reason why, as a physician, I'll tell our listeners, is with weight loss, then you don't have diabetes, high blood sugar levels, which cause all sorts of problems. So if you lose the weight, generally and many times, the disease process goes away and certainly improves.
And there are pretty good evidential guidelines on which patients benefit from this surgery. Not everybody does. And what's also really important to understand is that it's a big surgery. It's a serious surgery.
Yes, it is.
With a very high complication rate. So it's not something to be undertaken lightly.
No, it's fraught with complication because of the size of the patient and because of other medical problems that go along with being overweight.
Exactly. But I think Mac has reached a place where proceeding with the surgery has become very important. And as he explored this, he's been a really engaged patient. He's gotten a couple of opinions. He's checked in with a couple of different places, but discovered when he looked at his insurance that bariatric surgery specifically was excluded.
And is that usually the case with insurance policies?
There has been a lot of variation over the last many years on whether bariatric surgery is a covered benefit or whether it's not. There are 24 states where they are covering this surgery, and as a consequence of the ACA, typically policies that are written in those states will also have some provision for coverage. Georgia, however, is not a state that is covering bariatric surgery, and so policies that are underwritten in this state typically exclude it.
They may or may not cover the cost of having this procedure.
Exactly.
And the procedure for bariatric surgery is for weight loss. It's to create a means for weight loss when you've tried everything else, counseling, nutrition, exercise, and you're deemed to not be progressing in your weight loss. That's why someone would undertake this, and it certainly is a significant amount of surgery and has significant risks. So, having passed the point that he said, great, I'm going to take this risk, and now we've moved on to insurance, whether it's covered or not, tell me about Mac's policy.
So what happened is that he was willing to figure out a way to pay for this surgery out of his pocket. But what he was concerned about is his insurance policy also had an exclusion that if he had a complication, the complication treatment for that complication was not going to be covered.
Wow.
And I think for any elective surgery, whether it's plastic surgery or bariatric surgery, as patients, we need to be aware of that. complication rates for plastic surgery tend to be a lot lower than they might be for bariatric surgery, but they still happen, and
Yes,
they
they
can
do.
be expensive.
Yes, they can. And you're right. Years ago, all policies really didn't address it. So if you were in a private surgery center, had, say, a facelift or a nose job, went home, then all of a sudden started bleeding or had some other complication, you went to the emergency room, and those costs were covered, so to speak. I'm not sure they were really covered, but insurance would pay some component of it.
Correct. So that concerned him because the side effects, the complications with bariatric surgery can be significant. They can be very costly. And so we started to investigate what options he might have. One of them was to consider medical tourism. There are places around the world that are developing centers of excellence for certain kinds of procedures for folks that are going to pay out of pocket.
And what did you find?
Well, I found that there are some bariatric centers of excellence in Mexico. Actually, some in some other locations across the pond, which were not quite so attractive. But there you can verify the qualifications of the surgeons that are doing these procedures. You can look at their complication rates, and the costs are significantly reduced.
Wow. Once again, we're with Cindy Gatton, who is a patient advocate. Fortunately, some of these places you can judge by can you say their website? I mean, they have data on it. So wow, tell me about the process you went through.
Well, we looked at where there were options. We also looked domestically, if you will, because as Mac thought about it, he was a little bit concerned about what it might mean to travel, how long he was going to have to be there, what he would do if there were issues. But as a patient advocate, one of my jobs is to point out every option that a patient has to make sure that they know what their choices are. There are in the United States centers of excellence. You might have read recently about Walmart, Lowe's, and a couple of other employers that have restructured their benefit design for cardiac surgeries. That
That's
if patients
right.
go to certain locations, their travel's paid for, a person going with them is paid for, and their out-of-pocket costs are waived.
That's incredible. Of course, these are high-cost procedures like bariatric surgery. I will tell you, the ENT Institute, we are actually in the process of working with the groups to see what we can do for Walmart and join that consortium of tourism, but it's homegrown tourism. It's not foreign medical tourism. It's here. It's here. So that's why I'm so excited about this. So what did Mac wind up doing? Have you made choices, or are you still in the process?
We're still in the process. Mac has family and friends that are willing to help pay for this surgery for him. Not everybody has that. But I actually saw something come across my desk earlier this week about a new startup called Heal Funder, which is what do we call this, crowd fundraising?
Right.
For folks that want to have a platform to be able to raise money for things which might not be covered by their insurance. I don't know that that's something that Mac's going to choose because he actually has a family member that is willing to underwrite this. And ultimately, I think where he's leaning right now is that he's going to take the risk of having to pay for complications if they occur. He's done a really, really good job in vetting where he might want to go. And to your point, for the ENT Institute, when facilities are doing a lot of procedures, they get better at them. And
Yes,
their
they do.
results are better. And that's an important thing to evaluate.
And having that data. So as a physician and as a CEO of a large ENT group, I do think about what is in the patient's best interest and how do they make decisions. And it is about data. It's about outcomes. It's about complication rates. It's about just general satisfaction for the patient. And I think in this day and age of healthcare consumerism, we're going to see more of this. Let's talk about tourism. I think we're going to see more and more healthcare tourism. I really do. I read recently in the Cayman Islands, an Indian company is supplying Indian doctors and building a hospital in the Cayman Islands, and they hope to attract a lot of people from the United States, given the changes of healthcare here, where we are going to be responsible for our healthcare dollar and our decision about where we're going to go. And I encourage all patients and doctors, everyone listening, to start developing something that stays here in the States, because I think that we can affect the cost curve of delivering health care. Certainly here in Atlanta, it is an open arena, and I think it's a very positive one. Have you found anyone involved in medical tourism locally?
Well, this is more of a personal story, but I have a friend who spends a couple of months every winter in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. And when she was there a couple years ago, she had a dental emergency. Many of us don't have dental insurance, and she had to have care, and was so pleased with how it was delivered that she now saves all of her dental care. I got an email from her last week that she had a crown done down there, and it cost her $250. I don't know if anybody's priced dental care recently here, but my last crown was about $2,000. So
Right.
that it's a big cost savings.
I'm in the studio here with our producer Chris and executive producer Vicki Locke, and everybody's, can you believe it? And Beth Ann, our PR lady, it's amazing. So see, we're educating at least us, and I think our listeners appreciate that too. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. So, what advice would you have for our listeners with regard to medical tourism, and why would they want to participate?
I think that medical tourism isn't for everybody, but if you have significant out-of-pocket costs, if you have a comfort with traveling to a different country, not everybody does, and if you have the opportunity to vet carefully the quality and the services that are going to be delivered, medical tourism can be a very viable option for certain procedures.
Well, it's exciting. I think it can be too, because we're here in Atlanta. We have a great airport. I mean, it's been said, if you can't go to heaven or hell without flying through Atlanta Hartsfield if you're on the East Coast. So, we have a great opportunity. And this is an exciting subject to talk about, and I hope that it comes up again. Thanks for joining us again, Cindy Gatton. How do people get in touch with you?
Through my website, www.cindy.gatton.com, or by calling me directly at 404-687-6998.
Thanks again. We'll be right back. I'm Dr. Jeffrey Gallops, and this is Doc Talk on Talk Radio 640 WGST.